A near fatal stroke changed their lives and stole his speech, but Greg and Lakesha Burton continue to celebrate each day together. To talk about the year since, we're joined by Lakesha Burton. Good morning, Lakesha.
Good morning, Ann. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We're also joined by Jodi Morgan. She's a speech language pathologist and co-founder of the Brooks Rehabilitation Aphasia Center. She is also the therapist of Greg Burton. Nice to have you here, Jodi.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So, Lakesha, how are you doing?
I am very grateful. I can't believe that it's been a year. So we've been really busy in recovery and healing and also continuing to live our life to the best of our ability.
And so Greg is here with you today. He's sitting outside the
Yes.
studio. Take us back to a year ago. Tell us what happened.
Well, just got this a call that nobody wants to get, that he had passed out, and I was just en route to the hospital. And when I got there, I knew it was something different this time, a little bit worse this time. And come to find out, he had a massive a stroke that was life threatening, and he had to be airlifted to Baptist downtown for emergency surgery.
And when you say a little different this time, Greg had had some brushes with some serious medical issues in the past.
Oh, yes. In 2012, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. He had 3 strokes, a seizure, and open heart surgery between 2012 and 2015. And, he fully recovered and had been living a good life, healthy life.
Yeah, and people who don't know Greg, although many people will recognize him. I mean, he's really kind of the picture of health. He is a very healthy looking guy. He's very active. He's teaching you how to golf.
Absolutely. Yes. And just a week before this stroke, Greg had a stress test because he felt something going on with his heart, and everything was cleared. So he had been very disciplined in his health. So,
Yeah. And so you and Greg both served for a long time with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. You retired, he retired. He then became the chief of Duval County Public Schools
yes.
Police Force. And you had this career where you guys were both actually co-chiefs at the same time.
Yes. We were the first couples to be a part of the sheriff's staff.
Yeah. And so this really came at a interesting point in your life. I mean, you had gone through this sheriff's race. You've been working as a news analyst for Channel 4 as their crime and safety analyst. You'd been appointed to the mayor's top staff. You were going to be the director of public safety and then the director of kind of community initiatives.
That's correct.
And so this changed everything.
It changed. It was difficult, and a lot of people ask me, why did you leave? Why didn't you do both? And there's no way I could have done both. And I'm the type of person, when I commit to something, I'm 100%, and I couldn't commit 100% to the community and caring for my husband. So it wasn't a hard decision, but I'm grateful that the mayor was just so gracious. Obviously, she's been through those health scares herself, so she understood. And, and when I made that decision, there was a burden lifted off of my shoulders to where I could really focus on him and our younger son that was home at the time.
So tell us what happened in those first few days. I mean, you arrived at the hospital. He had gone through this emergency surgery, and so he was alive. But
Yes.
what was his condition when you first saw him and in those early days?
Yeah, he was really non-responsive. He had some he's paralyzed on the right side, and for several hours I was waiting for him to open up his eyes, and every time he did, I knew he didn't know who I was. So I just started gesturing that you and me are like, we're tight, we're good. And I made up in my mind right then. I said, if he never remembers who I am, he's going to fall in love with me because I'm going to take care of him. And I told him that. But it's about 3 days later, he was coming to, and I knew he knew who I was because I said, give me our special kiss. And he did it. And it was the best day of my life, honestly.
So that is a story of, a real hardship that you've gone through. It's not the first hardship that you've gone through. You've had a lot of difficult experiences in your life, starting even as a child. And you've used those experiences in the past to kind of learn from and also share with others. You've been pretty open about all of the
Mhm.
experiences that you've had, but this was a different kind of thing that was happening because it was happening to someone else in your life that you
Right.
had to kind of focus on and turn your attention and worry to. Um, how did you manage to kind of just be with him in that time and not, I don't know, convey your fear, your grief, your anxiety?
I don't think I had time to convey my fear and anxiety. Um, the condition that he was in required um, constant attention. I was sharing with some people that I was watching to see if he was going to have another seizure. He had the trembles. He was just in so much pain that I was the only one who could really communicate that to the nurses and the doctors. So it was important that I was there. And it wasn't hard because Greg and I, when we got married, we became one, and he took care of me. He changed my life when we met, and he's always taken care of me. So, and we already had a strong foundation, right? So the foundation was there. What I needed to do is alleviate other things that I was doing and just focus on him. And I was able to do that when I left the mayor's office. I know Joy Purdy, she said, it's like you disappeared. I said, well, if that's what it appeared that I did, that means I did the right thing by prioritizing what was most important in my life.
I'm talking to Lakesha Burton. It's been 1 year and a day since her husband had this terrible stroke, Greg Burton. Um, And if you want to join our conversation, you're welcome to. You can call us at 904-549-2937, or you can email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. You can also reach out on social media. So you're a high profile couple. Both of you have, been in public service, and this happened at a time when you were obviously serving in the mayor's office. There was an outpouring of, I think support, many, many people concerned, almost probably overwhelming, I would guess, initially.
Yes, I was so overwhelmed for the first time in my life, and I'm an extrovert, and I love and desire to be around people. But in those days, I literally the hospital had to put Greg's make him anonymous because people were just coming to the hospital. They were calling in. It was all good intentions, but I was just so overwhelmed with the love and support. And I always tell people, when you do good, it comes back to you. And I've always said that and lived by that. But on September 29th, 2023, it came back on me. And I was so overwhelmed. So all I want to do is continue to do good because when it comes back in many ways. It could be your health, your finances, your mental health with your kids. So just very, very grateful for all the support.
And I think you had an experience that other people have when they have someone in their life who's ill, that sometimes when people come to see you or they may visit the hospital or they're interacting with you, they're doing so with a sense of grief or tragedy. They're bringing, you know, this sorrowful posture to you.
Right.
And you didn't have
No,
any of that.
no, I said, don't bring it. No, I think that's part of recovery, having, being optimistic and being positive and having positive energy, which I understood. But again, I didn't have the capacity to absorb any negative of sorrow. I was just focused on, healing and positivity, So, but people were just really, really gracious though. And that's another reason why I had to like isolate myself from people. Like I tried to conserve my energy for Greg and our son. So, that's why I had to really isolate myself because all you're doing is repeating what's going on, how he's doing. And I just got to the point where I was exhausted.
Yeah, you gotta save your energy and kinda
Right.
cocoon a little bit, yeah. We have a
Yes.
call from Dr. Mina, who is the doctor who actually saved your husband's life.
Dr. Nima saved my husband's life. I'll never forget the conversation. I was at Baptist South. He talked to me on the phone. He said, drive safely. I'm going to wait for your husband. When you get here, he'll be in recovery. And it was the kindest, most compassionate doctor I've ever met. And I'm forever grateful.
Good morning, Dr. Nima. Welcome to First Coast Connect. How are you?
Good morning. Good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for calling in. So tell us, if you can, a little bit about that first interaction you had with Lakesha when you were telling her what you knew about Greg's condition.
Yes, thanks again for having me, Ms. Burton. Good to hear from you. As you know, Mr. Burton unfortunately had a major stroke caused by a blockage on the left side of the brain. Stroke is very common and it can happen at any time to anyone. The important thing is to detect it and get care as fast as possible. Thankfully, Mr. Burton was able to get to us at Baptist, and as you know, we have a comprehensive stroke program that can detect and treat these fast. So as soon as Mr. Burton arrived, the blockage, which was preventing the oxygen to get to the left side of the brain, we were able to go up through the blood vessel and remove that mechanically. He also got a blood thinner, which can help dissolve the blood clot as fast as possible. Those two treatments, I think, were very important to be done for him.
And what was your initial assessment, or what was your prognosis for Greg? Where did you think he would be, say, a year on where we are today?
You know, I'm very hopeful, but obviously you have to be realistic. At the time, at the moment, you don't exactly know the extent of the problem, the extent of the brain damage. Every minute that passes, about 2 million neurons die. So the most important thing is, again, treat as fast as you can, successfully and effectively. So at the time, I did not know the prognosis, although I believe that Mr. Burton got to us relatively quick, and again, we were able to open up the blockage. So prognosis to me was hopefully good with the treatment that he received. However, hearing the story now, seeing a year back, I think he has, done better than I expected. And I think that one of the reasons is, again, Miss Burton's tireless effort to be there, help, support. And I think the support and dedication of Mrs. Burton really made a big impact in his recovery.
Talk a little bit more about that, if you would, Dr. Nima, because not everybody has somebody in their life as supportive, as loving, as devoted. But you believe it really does make an impact?
Definitely. And not only I believe, study has shown aggressive rehab, support, all that does make a difference. Actually, if you think about it, again, the groundbreaking treatment for acute ischemic stroke is thrombectomy, where we can go with a wire. We have great techniques. This can be done relatively quick in the right setting, can significantly help. But that's the initial treatment. After that, the brain cells still recover, and they do have to develop new connection, new circuitry. The other part of the brain can take over. This is only done by therapy, rehab, and support. And unfortunately, as you said, not everybody has that. I would greatly advocate for more rehab and support for people who, do obviously need it. And I think that makes a big impact on patients' recovery.
And obviously, time is of the essence in terms of getting treatment or getting to some place that can care for you. Is that right? In terms of those early moments.
Thanks for asking that. That is very, very important. Every second, every minute counts. One of the challenges that we have is detection of stroke, because a stroke doesn't hurt. When somebody has a stroke, one part of the body may stop working. For example, Mr. Burton was not moving the right arm, right leg, and he was not talking. The language not moving on one side, these are all signs of a stroke. We use the acronym called B FAST, which people can memorize. B is balance, eyes, cannot see, all of a sudden balance problem, and then FAST is one face get droopy, one arm not moving, and then problem speaking. And the T is the time. As soon as the stroke is detected, you should call 911, and that patient may qualify or benefit from this groundbreaking treatment. Not every hospital is equipped to deal with this complexity, so it has to be the right place, fastest possible way, and effectively opening up the blockage is very effective. The problem, as I said, is education, and sometimes, again, people will ignore signs and symptoms of stroke.
Well, Dr. Nima, we appreciate you calling in. We appreciate you taking such good care of Greg Burton and Lakesha.
Thank you, Doctor.
My pleasure, and thanks again for having me.
Of course. I want to bring in Jodi now. You have been a therapist for people who are recovering from strokes, among other things. Jodi Morgan, you co-founded the Brooks Rehab Aphasia Center. So tell us, if you can, first of all, what is aphasia, and is that what Greg is experiencing?
Yeah, so aphasia is a language disorder, meaning it affects the left part of your brain, and it can be caused by a stroke, it can be caused by a brain tumor, it can be caused by a car accident, gunshot wound, any damage to the left part of the brain. And the interesting thing about aphasia is aphasia affects language, but not your IQ or your intelligence. And I always like to tell people it's like if I were dropped in another country and I don't know, let's say Japanese, and I'm dropped in Japan, I'm still as smart as I ever was. I still have my personality, my charisma, my sense of humor, my wit, whatever it is. But all of a sudden the language has changed. So maybe I can't read a menu, or I can't understand conversation, or I go to ask for directions or do something and I can't get my words out, or writing. Some people have one language modality affected, some people have all four. So it just depends on how big the stroke was, where it was in your brain. But again, you're the same person. You just can't get your words out, or maybe don't understand when they're coming in, just depending on where it happens in the brain.
And it's clear, talking to Greg, that he 100% has his faculties, his sense of humor. He's, who he is, right?
Sense of humor, yes.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. He is just incredible and kind and smart. And and that has not changed.
Yeah.
In fact, I think sometimes when people lose their language, other senses come more intact. And I'll notice, even when interacting with him, he would look at me and he could tell in an instant if something was wrong with me. He just was so tuned into other people's body language and things like that. He's just amazing.
We are talking now to Jodi Morgan. She is a speech language pathologist. She's working with Greg Burton on his aphasia. And if you want to join our conversation, you can call us at 904-549-2937, or you can email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. We have an email from Faye. She says, Brooks has changed my life too. They have exceptional programs for people who need physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. I have Parkinson's and essential tremor. Shout out to my speech therapist, Callie Tucker. So Jodi, tell us where Greg is in his, journey with this. Is he continuing to improve? Has he, what are your expectations?
Well, I think he is, honestly, just like Dr. Nema was saying, has exceeded everyone's expectation. And again, shout out to Lakesha and a loving family and re-engagement and life and all that she's done, because that's how people get better. So I think what's wonderful in the research literature and the aphasia literature is it's really showing that people can continue to get better a long time after their stroke. So people can keep improving for many, many years afterwards. You can keep making those connections, re-engaging in life, improving on different things. So there's a lot of hope for recovery.
I think what's cool about Greg is that he doesn't shy away from using his voice. He's not silent. He's talking all the time. He has a book that he kind of will use to support what he's saying, Lakesha, sometimes by drawing like a little stick figure.
Yes, he is so studious. And he went to the bookstore a few months ago, and I was like, what are we doing? And he went and purchased some books to learn sign language. So every day he does a sign language. I said, well, I need to learn it too so I can understand. Yeah, so he doesn't shy away. He's working hard every single day.
Yeah. So as we were saying, it's a year to the day. Greg Burton is in the hallway. He's not with us right now. And so we're not talking to him, but I wanted to have people be able to hear from him. So this is him speaking after you advanced in the sheriff's race to the November election.
All I want to say is this. Look around in this room. Look at the different cultures, the different political parties. This is America.
That's right.
This is what we are supposed to be about. So from my heart, I want to thank you all for supporting my wife. You just don't know what all of you have meant to her. You have no idea the nights that we stay up until 12 and 1 o'clock and she's talking about you and how much she appreciates you and how much I appreciate you for taking care of my greatest prize.
So that's Craig Burton talking about you, Lakesha. You're his greatest prize.
Yeah, I haven't heard his voice in a year. Wow. I almost forgot what his voice sounded like. I'm just grateful that we found other ways to communicate.
And the love hasn't changed.
Nope. Actually, it's deeper than ever before. I'm so grateful. People go a lifetime without finding real love. I'm just happy that I found it.
There's a shirt that you wear sometimes together, which I think really encapsulates your relationship. They're matching black and white shirts, and his says nothing since we're, and yours says makes when apart. And so when you stand side by side, it reads nothing makes sense when we're apart. And it really is a strong and beautiful bond that you guys have.
We're never too far away from each other. And let me just apologize to people at Baptist South because I kind of took over the hospital. Called me Dr. Burton.
Talk about that when you say you took over the hospital. What do you mean?
I really did. Just you have to have an advocate, and I was there every day. I knew I kept a journal from day one. I have a journal today for every conversation because, in the medical world, they use these terms you don't understand. So I had to do a lot of research and I was able to say, this medication caused this side effect. He's not supposed to have that. He needs more of this. And I did everything. I told him I'll bathe him, I'll feed him, I'll do everything. So I just, they appreciated it. But I was just there 24/7. So I became a fabric of the hospital. And even at the Aphasia Center, I tell you, Jodi has been God sent to really help us understand the tools that we need to utilize. And she made sure that we understood that we are still valuable, and human, and that there is hope. So, and I told Jodi, I said, well, we have to bring more awareness, and there certainly needs to be more resources available because I was very fortunate. I have, both of my husband and I have pensions, but what about people who can't afford it? Are they not getting this therapy to have a better quality of life? And I just think that, we have to do better. So I'm just gracious for her heart and her support and the work that Baptist and Brooks is doing.
And insurance doesn't always cover this kind of therapy. Is that right, Jodi?
Oh, absolutely. It does not cover. So one thing that I'm very grateful for is we do have the Brooks Aphasia Center, which is one of the only in the country. And one of the great things about our Aphasia Center is we have two arms of the program. One of it is our community. So we have a lot of people with aphasia come together for groups to focus on quality of life things. We have all sorts of groups, and it's non-insurance based, meaning because of the Brooks Endowment Fund, people can come and it's based on a sliding scale. So we don't turn anybody away. If they don't have insurance, they can come to these groups. But then we also have an intensive program, a 6-week program that is more of an out-of-pocket program. But the great thing I love about Brooks is that we are able to give back to anyone who needs these services.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that insurance doesn't cover something that seems like it would be so practical in the life of somebody recovering from a stroke.
Yeah, they'll cover sometimes for a certain period of time, but then the insurance stops. And again, what we know about stroke recovery is people can recover for a long time after a stroke. So we definitely need more of these services and just awareness. No one knows what aphasia is. You'll say the word aphasia. I run an aphasia center and people have asked me, oh, is that a skin disorder? People don't know what aphasia is. And so it's very difficult for even people to research. They get discharged from a hospital. They don't even understand what this devastating condition is, that they can't talk or read or write. They might not have even heard the word. So I'm just grateful for Lakesha for being such a strong advocate to get the word out about what this is, because we definitely need more awareness, more help for people, more resources in our community and many others.
And there's gradations of aphasia, right? They're not all you can't speak. Sometimes there are just words you can't find.
Yeah, there's actually 7 different kinds of aphasia. So depending on where it hits in the brain, anterior versus posterior lobe, how big the stroke is. So there's 7 different kinds. So some people can talk fluently and you don't understand their words, but they understand every single thing that's happening. Or there's some type of aphasia where they can't get one word out and they have to use a communication device. And then there's people who can talk fluently and maybe every once in a while they'll just replace some words. Some people have problems with numbers. They can't say or write numbers. So there's a huge variety of people with aphasia.
And has Greg at any point kind of had his words match what he's trying to say? I mean, where has he landed in that? Sometimes,
Many times actually, and just over the last couple months, he's learning different words and he's saying more words. A few weeks ago, we were going to bed. He said, "I love you," and I was like, "Oh my God!" I said, "You said you." He was like looking like, "What's wrong with you?" Because to him, he's speaking the right language. He has to remind himself that he has aphasia. And sometimes I'll point at my mouth and I'll tell him, "I don't understand what you're saying," so I'll write it down, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, I have aphasia." So yeah, but the words are coming out, and obviously his gestures and his actions and stuff. What I love most is that the aphasia didn't impact his personality or his love language. You know, it's so amazing. He's so affectionate and loving.
and you can really read his tone and his body language, and you can kind of really interpret and intuit what he's saying.
Yes, yes. We just recently purchased a new home, and we went to go and purchase some furniture, and everything I liked, he was like, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Then I was like, I wrote down compromise, Greg. You have to compromise, okay? And that's one thing I've done because I wanted to make sure he feels like he is still the man and priest of our family, and his independence is very important. So every decision we make, we still make it together. We do the same things. It's just, the verbal part is not there. So.
Yeah. Well, his progress has been remarkable, and
Oh,
I'm so
yes.
glad that you were able to come in today and talk about
Thank you.
this last year and how you all are doing.
Yes, I appreciate it so much. I'm so grateful for everybody who has even just prayed for us. So just grateful to God. And, we're living life to the fullest, literally every single day.
Lakesha Burton, Jodi Morgan, thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor.
All right.